All right, welcome to your lesson today. We are going to take off with what we started on learning yesterday. So today we are going to practice finding slope of a line, and what that means is we are figuring out how steep or what the distance is between 2 points on a line. So we're trying to figure out the space between point 1 and point 2, and that will tell us how steep our line is. And we find that distance by counting how far we go up and over. Now I'm going to show you how to do this using 2 points from your line. So in this case, the 2 points from this line are -2, -4, and 4, 2. So what is important to understand is that this is our first point. So our first point we're going to call our x and our y with a little 1 to show that that's our first point. And our second point, we're going to use our x and y and a little 2 to show that this is our second point and this one was our first point. So that's what the 1s and 2s means. So remember that to find slope, we can use a formula, and our formula will help us figure out the distance between our y value and the distance between our x value. And that formula is y2 minus y1, so our change in y over our change in x, x2 minus x1. So basically we have 2 points, so we're going to subtract our y's first. So I'm going to subtract my first y from my second. So 2 minus -4. So that's my y's. I'm going to find my difference by subtracting. Now I'm going to subtract my x's, so 4 minus -2. Now, be careful with your negatives. Remember that when you're subtracting, that's the same as adding the opposite. So I'm just going to change, flip, keep my 2, change my minus to plus, flip my negative to +4. And I'm going to do the same on my denominator. So keep my 4, change my minus to plus, flip my negative to +2. So what I get is 2 plus 4 is 6. And 4 plus 2 is 6, so my slope is 6 over 6, and I know that 6 over 6 simplifies to 1. And what that means is that I go up 6 and right 6 to get from one point to the next. Let's try another one. For the second graph, I've been given 1, -4, that's my first point, and 3, -3. So this is my first point, this is my second point. So to find my difference between my y's, or how much I go up or down, I'm going to subtract -3 minus -4. So my change in y divided by my change in x. So to find my change in x, I'm going to take 3 minus 1. So I'm subtracting my second x minus my first one. Okay, so I'm going to solve this out. I know that 3 minus 1 is 2. And on my numerator, I've got a minus and a negative, so I'm going to keep, change, flip. Keep the -3, change minus to plus, flip negative to +4. -3 plus 4 is 1, so my slope is 1/2. Or in other words, to get from my first point to my second point, I go up 1, right 2. All right, let's try a couple more. So from this first graph that I've got in front of me, I've got the point 0, 0, and 4, 2. Again, to find my slope, I'm going to take my y's and subtract them. So 2 minus 0, my change in y, and then I'm going to subtract my x's, or 4 minus 0. So 2 minus 0 is 2, and 4 minus 0 is 4. And I know that 2 over 4 simplifies to 1/2. Okay, so in other words, to get from my first point to my second point, I go up 2, right 4. Or if I wanted to start at this point and get to another point on my line, I could go up 1, right 2, which would be giving me a point right there. Okay, so our last one we're going to try. Number 4. I've got 2 points that I'm going to use to find my slope, or my change in y over my change in x. So remember that your change in y is how far you go up or down, and your change in x is how far you go to the right. Okay, so my first point that I've been given is -1, 2. My second point I've been given is 0, 1. Now remember that to find my slope, I'm going to subtract my y's, so 1 minus 2 to find my change in y. And then for my change in x, I'm going to subtract my x's and my point, so that would be 0, -1. So 0 minus -1. Okay, so after I've done this, I'm going to solve this out. 1 minus 2 is -1, and on my denominator, I've got 0 minus -1. So I'm going to keep my 0, change my minus to plus, flip my negative to +1, which makes 0 plus 1, which is 1. And I know that -1 over 1 is just simplified to -1. So in other words, if I were to think of this slope as my change in y, I would go down 1, and then over my change in x, which is over 1. Okay, let's just do one more for good measure. Let's try number 6. So I've got 2 points on my line. Again, my slope is to find how steep my line is. And my first point is 0, 2. And my last point is 4, 4. So again, to find my slope, I'm going to do my change in y, so 4 minus 2. Remember that your last part of each point is your y value, over my change in x, or 4 minus 0. So I know that 4 minus 2 is 2, and 4 minus 0 is 4, and 2 over 4 is the same as 1/2. All right, so that is your lesson for today. What we were doing is we were finding slope, so how steep is our line, from 2 points on your line. So we found slope from 2 points on your line. For your Khan Academy assignment, you are going to be doing a few questions where you practice finding your slope from 2 points. Remember to do your work on scratch paper and then just submit that so I can see your work. Thank you for listening. Nice job, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.